On the air with me is Chris Hamilton. Chris, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
And as everyone already knows, we are going to talk about lead nurture. And more specifically, we're going to talk about web lead nurture. Now, in this day and age, web leads are just as common as regular leads in person, if not more common. And the goal of having leads is obviously to close them. So when we talk about nurturing leads, we're really talking about closing. In this one, we'll talk about how to boost your close rate by 20% or more. So you're going to walk away from here learning something that will have a bottom line impact. So before we begin, I'm going to give us a little bit of background on who we are so you know who you're listening to today. My name is Hewitt Tomlin. I am the head of partnerships and co-marketing here at Contactually. If you'd like, you can follow me on Twitter. I don't only talk about business, I also talk about fun things like sports and everyday daily life occurrences. If you want to join me, go ahead and give me a follow. I may follow back. And Chris, who is a marketing specialist, but also much more. Chris, why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself here?
Sure. So you know what? As I told you before, offline here, I'm as old as dirt. So I've been doing sales and marketing for numerous years, working with Fortune 500s and startups. Currently, I'm working with several startups and try to get them out the door and get them going. So long story short on this is that I've developed a lot of tactics and techniques that tend to work and help companies generate revenue in a much needed time frame.
Very good. And I've put Chris's Twitter handle as well if you want to follow along, and more on that in a minute. Just some housekeeping items first before we get into this. We are recording today's webinar, so Chris and I are held to a different standard than if we could just get away with saying anything. And we will send this recording out to you within 24 hours. So if you like the recording, I'll tell you more about the end, how you can get that. You just don't do anything and hold tight, and I will get that to you. So don't worry. If you have questions, use the question box. We want to hear from you guys. These webinars are better when they're interactive and we're actually talking live about things. That's how you get more value out of it. So if everyone can do me a favor, go ahead and say hi in the questions area. Just type in, hey Hewitt, tell me that you're there. Tell me that you know how to use this thing so that I know that you know where it is. Go ahead and say anything at all. Go ahead and say your name, say where you're from. Just type it right there in the questions area. Next, we will be using a hashtag for this. There we go. There's Mark saying hi all. Hey Mark, how are you? We're using a hashtag if you like to tweet along or follow the discussion on Twitter. There's also going to be some more. Got an ambulance coming by here, so just give me 1 second. Don't want to get in the way. If you want to follow the conversation, lead nurture is a hashtag not only for this webinar, but also for other people tweeting about lead nurture as well. We're not the only source out there. So I'll be monitoring that hashtag if you want to tweet out at me. It's a great way to make your brand awareness a little bit bigger out there in the Twitterverse. So with that being said, I'm going to pass the presenter role, and Chris is going to take it over and talk about what you all came here to do, and that's to learn how to nurture leads. So 1 second, Chris, I am making you presenter, and pretty soon everyone will be looking at Chris's screen, and we'll get started here with the remainder of our webinar.
You bet. Just tell me when you can see my screen.
And we are live.
You can see my screen then.
Absolutely.
Excellent. I will go into what I've got going on here. So first thing I want to do is, Hewitt, thank you, and Tony and Zvi, or Zvi, I'm Canadian, so I get to pronounce it both ways, for having me on this and bringing me on, and also for creating such an awesome product. I mean, I absolutely love Contactually. So one of the things we're going to try to zoom through a lot of this. I've got a lot of information in here. Good thing you're recording it because it's going to be like drinking from a fountain hose. So today in the webinar, I'm going to show you 3 ways I use Contactually to nurture leads. And then I'm also going to show you a great way to find leads online and have the ability to also nurture them. So first of all, I'm going to jump into 3 ways I use Contactually to nurture sales leads that come in the door. So if I'm going to assume that anyone who's on this webinar is using Contactually, if not, I'm going to go very high level here because people should know this stuff. The first way you look at things is creating buckets. And the way I use buckets is I have kind of like four different ways I look at things. I kind of have an ABC bucket list. I also break buckets down by geography, by a line of business, and there's other categories I use in there, such as prospect, client, and a bunch of different things. Those are more for the scale mail functionality in Contactually. I'll get into scale mail in a little bit here, and ways that I use it to lead nurture, or to nurture leads as well. So first things first, when you go in, you start creating buckets. So what I've got is I'm showing here that I've got an ABC bucket. And one of the things that I look at is, A buckets are people that I want to be able to be, constantly in contact with, because they're either potential to do business with me, or doing business with me, and I want to keep that going, or it's just someone I just want to keep in contact with that can also assist me in different ways, or whatever it comes down to. B buckets, obviously, I set up for 60 days, and then C buckets are 90 days. If you also notice, if you look at like above, I have needs to be added to Calgary list. I'm based in Calgary here. I've got a reminder. It shows up none. It's basically, I'm not reminding myself. I'm just putting that person into a bucket so that I might have potential to send them something later on, and that they're grouped in a certain way. So first thing I talk about is, create the buckets. Think about what it is that you want to do with a person, and when you put them into a bucket, and think carefully about how you're going to nurture that person along. The next step that I look at is creating email templates, and then leveraging the program functionality in Contactually. And I'm hoping most people know how to add an email, but I'm going to do this at a very high level here. So when you are in Contactually, the first thing you want to do is in the upper right-hand corner, you click on your account picture. So up there's a small little picture of me. If you click on it, then what you do is you hit the settings button. Once you hit settings, on the left-hand side, you go down, and you're going to see something that says email templates. Now, the picture's a little confusing. It says follow-ups and email templates are both highlighted. It was just the way I took the picture, but you want to click on email templates. And then it shows up in the right-hand corner. It says add an email template. You have the ability to add a new template or use one from the library. And the library that Contactually has put together of email templates is freaking awesome. I'll get to that in a sec, because there's a lot of power in that as well. So what you do is you click on New Email Template. When you get a new email template, what pops up is this page right here, and it allows you to kind of label what your email is going to be, and it also allows you to put a subject line in there. Now, one of the things that you're going to see in here is, you copy and paste or put your information in here. You can hyperlink through, but one of the things you're going to see is include my default signature at the bottom. And this is, you can click it yes or no, click it on or off, right? But if you go into your settings, you can set up your email signature. And one of the cool things that I've done with my email signature is, what you do is you put a call to action in there. And then what you can do is hyperlink it and send it through to a landing page or a page on a website or something that will drive people's attention. So in this case, every email that I send out where my signature is included, I've got a tagline that's basically saying, you want to see how to generate 10 times more sales leads, click here. All you do is click that little link button up there, and then you put the website link in there. And then every time you send an email out, this is in there. So there's your marketing message going out on a consistent basis. Now, I said what I was going to do was talk to you about the Contactually email library. So once again, the guys at Contactually, the people, I should say, I shouldn't be gender specific. The people at Contactually have created a tremendous library that dumbs it right down for you. So what you do is once again, you click in the upper right-hand corner, you get to email templates, add a template, and then put add from library. And when you go in there, you're going to see all these different templates down the left-hand side. And what you do is just, my suggestion would be go in, poke around, and see what these templates have. Because, Hewitt, if I'm not mistaken, these are templates that come from users that, it's worked. and it's probably from you guys as well. Is
That's
that
right.
correct?
We source our templates from our user base. And another source of templates that's worth noting is our forums, which is where users get on and talk to others about the effectiveness of the templates that they use. So it is primarily sourced from users. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff you have in here is incredible, right? To keep in contacts, ask for a referral, all this stuff. It's just amazing. That's kind of a side note here. You can add these into your email templates, but highly recommend people go through here and take a look because you've dumbed it down and you found some great templates that work for individuals. So now back to the process here. So you've created an email template or hopefully several templates. And what I do is when I do webinars or if I've got a great blog post, I create an email that I can share out with individuals. And in this case, what I do is you click on programs here at the top menu. And then what it does, it says, you can select a program or you can start a new program. So obviously, if you're starting from new, what you do is you start a new program. And now, the reason why I say select a program is because once you've started a program, you can go back in and edit it as well. And in this case, this is one where it's a process that if I meet someone new, what I'll do is I will add them to my this program here, and it basically automates a follow-up process with emails going out every 30 days. And the reason being is because I always look at things as when planets align. And if you send something to someone once, and say a year or 2 years down the road, they have a requirement or a need, you send it to them in month one, but in month 24, they may be looking for something that you can do. They're not going to remember you. But if you send stuff on a consistent basis that's educational and gives value to people, they're going to remember you. So this is a great way to do this. So how you do this is when you're in programs, you've opened up a program, you add a new step. Then what you do is you start walking through the process. And in this case, you can select how many days until you start something. If someone is talking in between or something happens in between, you can restart this process and remind you. There's so many different things that you can do for an action. In most cases, I actually send out an email, but just to give you an idea, up in Canada, we have some of the strictest anti-spam laws in emails. So I actually used to leverage this to remind myself to send letters to people, believe it or not, old school. But it was a process that I used that will remind me every 30 days to send a letter out to people. So that's kind of a way that I got around the Canadian anti-spam laws. And then I'm showing just a bit of a bigger picture here that shows you, wait for how many days, select what kind of action you have. And the cool thing here is that you can pick the different emails that you want and also when you want to send it out. And also, the nice thing about Contactually is you can hook up numerous different email accounts in here, and you get to select the account that you want to send this from. So it's a really powerful process. And once you've done that and you've created a program, let's say you've kind of connected with someone new and you are wanting to keep in touch with them, the easiest way to do that is you look that person up, you've got their contact information, and then you can add them to a program. Once you put them into that program, then it just follows that program all the way through. So, just a phenomenal way to keep in contact with people. Now, here's the 4 ways that I use programs, email templates and programs. So first of all, as I said, if I read a great blog post or basically I have a webinar or whatever, I can share that information with individuals that I think is relevant. And I can have different streams for posting out to these people on this stuff. The other thing too is if I have marketing information. So for example, if I've created these different webinars, instead of letting them die on the vine, when I bring someone new in, I can add these webinar replays in so people can actually watch them on a consistent basis. One of the other things that's really cool is you can put a birthday notice. So what happens is if you find out it's someone's birthday, you can create something that says, 365 days from now, send this out again and say happy birthday so that you're always saying happy birthday to someone and you just set it and forget it. And then last but not least, one that I found really interesting is some of the people that I don't necessarily fall into my A, B, C buckets. what I do is on a quarterly basis, I'll send something out, which is how can I help you? So I'll put these people into a bucket, and then at every once a quarter, I just, hey, how can I help you? Is there anything that you need help with? Just let me know. So those are four different ideas. There's numerous different ways you can do it, and Hewitt, I'm sure there's lots of people have had different programs that you've seen. Any that you know of that are good?
Yeah, so actually, I use programs myself personally. I have a personal website out there. And what I've actually done is I've taken it a step further. I've integrated the Contactually API into my website so that when people fill out a form on my website, it dumps them into a bucket which has a program attached to it and it sends them emails automatically. And the reason I do it is because sometimes when people are on my website and I'm sleeping or I'm away from my computer, I still want them to get nice personalized emails immediately, assuming that that's when they're most excited. So that's how I use programs.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool actually. I love that. And one of the reasons why I love it, I'll show you what. Here's a little bonus that I put in. This is why I absolutely, I love Contactually. I love the email templates and the programs. I'm going to show you guys how I save 4 weeks a month of time. So what I do is when you look through kind of the performance that I do, I followed up with it's about 3-4 months ago when I took this screenshot for one of the webinars I was doing. Um, I followed up with 1,920 people, and that's emails basically. We'll take a look at if I were to take an email and copy and paste and put it in and then send it out. You know what? That's 5 minutes an email. That's 160 hours or 4 weeks of time each month by putting myself, by putting a process together, following up with people, it literally gives me that time back. So I'm doubling my productivity basically just by putting that together. And here's the kicker is, at $49 a month gives me 164 hours of my time. That's just killer. That's a killer ROI. And in fact, just because I'm in Canada and our exchange rate is much higher, I'll even say it's like $65 a month. I'd gladly pay $65 a month to get 160 hours of my time back and keep in front of my contacts. And I'll tell you what, one of the best things about this process is I get so many people that follow up with me after I send an email and said, "Oh, I wanted to reach out to you because I need to talk to you about this." And it really just keeps you top of mind with all these people. So this is the third way that I use Contactually to help nurture leads and bring more closes to my plate as well. Is scale mail. So scale mail is one of these little functions. I don't know how many people use it in Contactually, but I think it's just a great little app that or functionality that's added in the system. And one of the things that I like about it is I think it's ideal for webinar notices to different people, and also when I have different buckets and I'm trying to follow up with people that I haven't followed up with in a long time, or that I don't actually necessarily have a follow-up set for them. It's two different ways that I can do this, so it's pretty cool. So here's what you do. When you go into buckets, you're going to see different buckets. So I'm going to pick my marketing services bucket. Now, even though it says I have a reminder every 30 days to reach out to people on my marketing service, I may have a webinar that comes up that I want to introduce people to or get them to come. So what I do is when I click on that bucket, literally it pulls up all the people in there. So I got 412 people in there. If I click that little button there, and it might be a little fuzzy bit depending on your computer screen, it will select everyone on that page. The other thing it'll do, it'll say, do you want to select all 412? Just as a note, don't select all 412. I think you can only send out, Hewitt, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're using scale mail or have that functionality, you can only send 50 out a day. Is that correct? Or what's the...
No, you can actually send 300 in a day if you are a professional subscriber.
Okay, so yeah, I have the ability to send 300. I didn't know whether it was throttled down because I've been on Contactually for so long on the professional mode, I couldn't remember that. So, but that way you can select that many people and then you can send it out. Now the other thing too is if you don't want to send something, say to my buddy Sean Derby or Ron Biscoe here, I just unselect those, and they don't end up going on to the list. So I can send individually. I could take people off the scale mail. Now, once you go to the bottom, you put scale mail. You hit the scale mail button, and this comes up. So in this case, I can actually put a subject in. I can write an email, and I can send it to all 50 people. Or if I hit the email template, I can actually pick a template that I have and put it into the email. And then what happens is it will put it in, and then you hit the little next button, and then it brings you to a send a personal message to these 50 contacts. Now, down the left-hand side here, I've picked my buddy Dave Laud because he's got two different email addresses, and I know one might be work-related and one might be personal. So I'll select the one that I want it to go to. That would be, say, his work-related email. And then the other thing, too, is that when you're actually highlighted on that, so in this case, Dave, I get to see the email that's going to Dave. And I can say, instead of, hope all is well, I could put, by the way, congratulations on the birth of your twins recently. That's awesome. And I can put my individual messages in there as well and send that out to people. And then you hit send, and it goes out to those 50 contacts. And if you've got 300 a day, just go through until you're done with the 300. Contactually will tell you when you've hit 300 or close to, so you have to take some people off if you've gone over. But it's a great way to just get your message out to people. And then what I do is, if I'm trying to get this out to, say, 700 or 800 people, I'll send it out one day, like on a Monday, then I'll send it out again on a Tuesday, so I'm up to 600. And if I've got 700, I just select the other 100 I want to send it to on the next day, and make sure that the webinar is far enough out that people will, get the email with prep time to get ready on this stuff. So those were the three ways that I use it. So buckets, email templates and programs, and last but not least, the scale mail. There's so much more that you can do with Contactually, but for time's sake, I couldn't get into a whole ton of stuff today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you kind of a great way that you can generate sales leads. And I'm going to preface this with 60% of people typically go online to find more about a product or service. You know what? And usually 83% of those people need help during their investigation online. So they need questions answered. They need a whole bunch of different things. People are impatient. They expect immediate assistance online if they're trying to find information out. And I'll tell you what, almost half of the people will leave your site, never come back again, if you don't have a mechanism to help them. So I'm going to show you some of my favorite ways to generate leads. First of all, email marketing is tremendous. If you work for a company or if you have your own company, you should seriously look at creating email marketing. That's a whole different topic that can be talked about, but it's a tremendous way to keep in touch with people. Obviously, you can use it through Contactually as well with the different ways that I showed you, so it's a perfect way to do that sort of stuff. The next one, social media. So, leveraging information that you find and tweeting it out, putting up on Facebook, so on and so forth. A great way to keep in front of a target demographic. Pay-per-click advertising like AdWords or Facebook ads. Organic search. So if you're writing information or putting stuff together, you're going to get found online. A tip of the trade is that if you've got, say, blog posts or something and you're getting found online, one of the things you should do is if you write a blog post, put a strong call to action where people can reach you, and you'll greatly increase the amount of sales leads that you can generate from your website. Blog posts, same thing. Just put up great specific content for your target demographic and have a strong call to action in there. And last but not least, I love LinkedIn, love going through LinkedIn, connecting with people, reaching out to people. That in its own, same thing, whole separate webinar that is phenomenal. If you go to my website, you can actually find, I just did recently a webinar on 6 different ways to leverage LinkedIn to find sales leads. Last but not least, though, here's something that can be a potential secret weapon for you or your company or the company you work for. And I know a lot of people, when I talk about this live chat, they groan and say, oh, it's annoying type thing. I have other people say it's great because you get your questions answered. But this is for sure a potential secret weapon that salespeople can leverage to generate sales leads. And I'll tell you why. So when you're using or leveraging live chat on your website, people that engage with you are 7.5 times more likely to convert into a client than just an average website visitor. So you have a greater opportunity to generate more sales leads. In most cases, they will turn into a sale 24% of the times. As I said before, 7.5 times more likely to convert into a client. These people, when they're engaged, they also spend on average 55% more and also are 9.8 times more likely to buy if they're engaged directly by you. Here's one of the things that I talk about when it comes to live chat is take a look at your competitors online, and whether that's in a geographical area or something that you sell specifically, and see if they have live chat on their website. If they don't, then you've got a great opportunity to engage with people. One of the things that Google talks about is something called the zero moment of truth. And if you look at the zero moment of truth, it was a couple of years ago they released this. At that time, people, people went to an average of 10 different websites before they engaged with a salesperson or with some company. And I'll tell you what, if they're going to your website and you can engage with them, chances are, if none of your competitors have live chat sitting on their website, then guess what? You're actually engaging with someone and creating or controlling that sales process. Now, one of the things that I want to say is I actually own a live chat software. It's called Chat Beacon. So this is what the software looks like. And I'll just give you a little bit of information. So one of the reasons why this webinar was timely was because of the fact that we actually integrate into Contactually. We're working with Contactually right now to just get this tested and get it put out and get it to go live. But when someone engages with you, this is kind of the back end. So what you do is on the left-hand side, you see kind of what's going on with a live chat. In the middle, you can see where someone's coming from and how they found you. And then on the right-hand side, just various information that's in there. When you are in Contactually, so how we connect Chat Beacon to the Contactually is you go, once again, go up into your settings. So when you click there, you're going to get to your settings. There's an API menu item down the left-hand side. And when you click on that, it's going to bring up a key. And that key is the token that you need to put into our chat system. So you can do that or we can do that. And then what happens is once that's in there, if you're actually chatting with people, then what you do is you take the relevant information here, you hit send, and then you go, it says add to lead. And then what happens is you can take that information, you push it through, and then it goes into Contactually. And once it's in Contactually, and I use myself as a record here just because I did a test with my tech people on this, is that now it's sitting in Contactually as a record. So what I need to do is then I need to assign it to a team member. And I'll tell you what, if I'm the only one using Contactually, then guess what? I assign it to me, obviously. And then that way, that information right there, I've got a running history of what's going on with this person, and I assign a lead. So if I'm a sales manager or an owner of a business or whatever, I can take that and assign it to a person. I've got that information from the live chat now sitting in the Contactually CRM to be actioned and followed up with. So just to give you an idea how this works, there's a website up here in Canada where I live called a company called Geeks on the Way that does IT support. And what they see is that when they reach out to people with the live chat, and it's automated, so it will actually pop up and talk to people, they see approximately 15% of these people contact or engage with them, and about 15% of those convert into a lead. So it's about a 2.2% conversion. But basically, for every 1,000 people, they get 22 new leads, and they actually close on a huge number of those. It's about 80% close on the leads that come in. This for them helped them increase their revenue by 20%, and it's worked extremely well. So you know what? If anyone is watching and they want to find out more, they can reach out to me at chris@salestipaday.com. I'll get you hooked up with a 30-day free trial of Chat Beacon so you can try it out. And once again, here's my information to get a hold of me. So if you want Chris Hamilton, chris@salestipaday.com. You can reach out at my phone number there, 403-630-1243. and my Twitter handle at salestipaday.com. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Facebook, anything like that. Hewitt, you know what? I managed to get through this a heck of a lot quicker than I thought I would. So, do we have any questions, or is there anything out there?
Not no question at the moment. Although we did have some come in via Twitter. So, quick question to you. Back when we were talking about programs,
Yes.
question is about automating. In short, the question asks, I'm nervous to automate emails. Why would I automate emails to people that I'm trying to build a personal relationship with?
Well, so once again, you can either not do it or you can do it, right? Doesn't mean you have to do that when you're trying to nurture a relationship with somebody. Because the nice thing about contactually is if you put them in a bucket where there is like my A bucket, for example, you're just going to be notified every 30 days to reach out to this person. That's where you would do that personal touch if you feel that that's what it's what kind of info or what you need to
Yeah.
do. The other side to it though is, some people come in and they're just not ready for a sale or to be sold to or anything like that, but you still want to keep in touch with them. Choice is yours. You can put them into this bucket, or you can put them into a program for a follow-up. So I'm not saying this is a hard and steady rule that you should create a program or put people into it. It's just, the choice is yours and figure out if it's going to work for you.
I would also mention here that when it comes to automated emails and programs, you also have an option to audit emails before they go out the door. So certainly, when I use my programs, I don't just count on every email flying out to someone in that program. Sometimes I have them set so that I have to first approve the email that goes out, and I can edit it a little bit. So if you talk to someone on the phone the day before, and this email goes out to them, that's the danger of automation. But you can certainly throttle that back and require approval, which is what I do really often, because then you can also say, "Hey, great talk yesterday," and it, add something about that conversation, and it becomes a really productive email. So automation is at your discretion, in short, to answer that question. One more question here. Nurturing via social media. Do you have any thoughts on that, Chris?
Um, you know what? It is, I think and you know what? I've got to admit, I'm really not the best at nurturing via social media. I'll put the preface on that up front, right? One thing that I try to do is, I'll tell you what, if I'm engaged with someone, say through Twitter or whatever, um, is try to take it offline into email, phone call, or even try to get in connection with this person on LinkedIn so that you can at least stay in contact with them. Um, it's just something that I've always tried to do is just try to bring people into the real world via email or phone calls and stuff, just to talk to them. And there's been a lot of times where people reach out to me and they'll ask me questions. Um, and unfortunately, I keep coming back to Twitter, but sometimes I just can't respond in 140 characters or less. So that's where I think you can bring it offline. I'm sure there's lots of people that have done it and do it successfully. It's just not really an area where I try to nurture the leads
Yeah,
that way.
I understand. Okay, so this will conclude the webinar. Of course, the recording goes out. This is Chris's information that you're looking at right here. If you want to get in touch, of course, you can always use the hashtag to tweet at me or Chris, or look out for some emails coming from us. We hope this was valuable to you. We know that it was. And we look forward to continuing nurturing our relationship with everyone out there. And Chris, any last words before we wrap this up?
You know what? Just once again, really appreciate the fact that you guys would consider having me on. It's a great honor, and love the program, love using it. I use it every day. Just love it, and keep up the good work. And I also want to thank everyone who attended or anyone that watches the replay. I know your time is valuable, and I greatly appreciate the fact that you would invest your time to learn more. And feel free to reach out to me if you ever have any questions.
Very good. That wraps it up. And thank you everyone for joining us and have a fantastic rest of the week.